Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the N Lefty show, presenting you the positions you love from the sides you hate. I have to start out the show because Lefty, as not per usual, is a little bit late. He's running behind. Maddie says that there's a big wreck down on Hickman. So if you're over there in that area, make sure that you're safe, slow down, don't be rubbernecking. As you can tell, I'm in a fine stead over here in Kiev, Ukraine. And I will tell you that, well, I think we lost the video feed, but I can tell you that Ukraine has changed quite a bit since the last time I was here. Last time I was here, there was a lot of scars and burn marks from the war. A lot of the cobbles were still, apparently when you drive a tank over a cobblestone road, it crushes the cobbles underneath it. And so it's almost like gravel. I mean, large chunks of, just broken brick. And they've replaced most of that. In Odessa, where I was, about 6 months ago, they had basically a firefight, and that's dramatizing it a little bit. But they had a clash, is a better way to put it, in Odessa, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. It didn't happen close to the tourist spots. It happened out and away on the other arm. Odessa sits on this bay, and there's two arms of Odessa, and it happened on the newer development side. Set the whole city on fire. It was really quite spectacular, the pictures. There's no evidence of that anymore. My apartment that I used to have in Odessa, the entire building's been redone. It's absolutely beautiful down there. And the one thing that I noticed is there was a lot of happiness in the streets. So I started talking to a lot of people about how they think things are going. They think it's better. They think it's better this year. There's a lot more hope. Feel more comfortable that Putin is not just going to roll over them like a train over a penny. And there's a lot more commerce. And what is amazing to me is the turnaround in attitude from when you had a former communist boss running Ukraine, a free market boss running Ukraine, back to communism and now back to free market. It's been 2 years, maybe 3, since this entire thing happened at the Maidan. And commerce has returned full force, free market, to Odessa. They cleared out the old Soviet-style play area that they have, which is just a bunch of cement lumps. Honest to goodness, at one point there might have been little dinosaurs or buffalo or whatever they might have been. But they were just cement lumps. They cleared it all out. Now you have restaurants, you have shops, you have selling different kind of souvenirs, you have clothing stores, all in this series of shops. And the city looks almost new. Now, I come up to Kiev, and keep in mind, Kiev has a tremendous amount, and I would bet close to 3 million people in the area that are refugees from the Donbass region. Now, my numbers might be off, but it certainly seems like that. The thing I noticed is last year when I was here, homelessness was incredible. And homelessness, for the most part, has been a problem, just like it is in every large city. But this time, instead of seeing a homeless person about every 30 feet, what I see is a homeless person at honest to goodness, about every quarter mile. And it's one of these things that is how you can tell if an economy is starting to recover, is the number of homeless. And the two homeless folk I talked to, both spoke English fairly well. Both of them said that part of the issue for them being homeless was that they had come on a promise of work, showed up and wasn't given a job. So the Ukrainian economy is turning around. People are feeling much better about what's going on. They're also feeling more secure that Putin isn't going to completely invade them. Now, as a lead into the actual show, I will tell you, I've talked to several people about Donald Trump's comments, and it's about a 50-50 split. About 50% of them say, well, we're offended by what Donald Trump had to say. Crimea is part of Ukraine. Donbass is part of Ukraine. But the interest, and they get upset about Donald Trump. About the other 50% have said, well, we understand Crimea has never really been Ukrainian, and they're all right with that. The interesting thing is, several of them, and I don't have a percentage, but several Ukrainians I talked to said, well, really, Crimea is a big deal, but we don't care if Donbass separates off and goes someplace else, because those people really are Russian. Those people really do belong to Russia. And that was something that I thought was interesting, mainly because that is an industrial heartland of Ukraine. They produce a lot of coal out of that area, and and there's a lot of coal and natural gas come from the Donbass. So my trip over here, I was expecting a trip much like last year, which was very sad, is the only way to say it. But this year, there's a lot of positive movement going forward. One of the unfortunate side effects of any time you have an economic collapse is some of your favorite things get removed. And there's a place called Love Cafe that had the best beef stroganoff ever. And reminded me of my grandpa's and my mom's. And there was another place called, Rats. Well, I forgot the name of the place. Had goulash just like Grandpa made. And they're both gone. In their place, one is a high-end retail dress shop that was doing really good business. And the other one is, of course, a restaurant, because those things come and go. And most importantly, in Kiev, the Saturn building that was the focal point of, that's where snipers were first seen. There's a YouTube video of a tank getting blown up with Molotov cocktails, and that was right in front of there. The whole entire building was just burned, like you couldn't believe. And I had no idea stone and marble could melt like that. That's kind of what it looked like when I first came after the Maidan. And they now have all the old stuff off, and they're starting to rebuild the outside, and their streets are repaired. So I think that's really a good movement forward, and I believe that has to do a lot with the attitude from Kiev, in that they are really working hard on getting back to where they should be and trying to be more European, so to speak. Of course, I wrote a blog about all this, so you can check it out at Doc and Lefty. We're up to the first commercial break. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Without you, we couldn't do what we do. We want to thank all of our sponsors. Des Moines Anesthesia at 515-574-6442. Halo Capital at Des Moines InterestrateS.com. Lubinas Law Firm and Bertrosian Associates. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back right after this break, and hopefully Lefty's showing up.